It has been the day's events at the trial in New York has been dissected and examined and taken apart phrase by phrase, word by word, by some real experts, all of whom I enjoy listening to. So by the time it comes to 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, which is when this little podcast is put out there, you've already heard as much as you want to hear, I'm sure. However, I've got to mention a couple of things. A couple of weeks ago, the Orange Bastard, Susan Del Percio, who's a Republican strategist, she said the Orange Bastard, well, I'm saying the Orange Bastard, she said Donald Trump flashed his MAGA bat signal. If you remember, Trump was, he has to show up for this trial every day where he has no power, none whatsoever. I mean, he can go outside the courtroom and continue to act in a contemptuous way for the court that is trying his ass. But in the courtroom, he has no power whatsoever. As a matter of fact, if he fucks up too badly, Judge Merchan can put his ass in jail. Yes, please do. So he was sitting there for the first 4 or 5 weeks, seemingly frustrated by what he saw as a lack of public support. Now, regardless of what the slime on the Fox sewer have reported, nobody shows up. There's not a big parade, a big crowd of people outside the courtroom in Midtown Manhattan or Lower Manhattan, wherever it is. No, people don't give a fuck. I mean, really, especially not New Yorkers. What are they going to do? Go down to the courthouse and carry a "Trump is God" sign or a sign that says "Impeach the bastard"? Well, you can't do that anymore, can you? So there hasn't been a lot of obvious public support for this orange cretin, and that really frustrates him. So since that time, when it started to occur to the Orange Bastard that nobody was paying attention the way he wanted them to at the courthouse, at the trial, since that time, where the trial is being held in Lower Manhattan, there's been a host of sycophants, acolytes, and minions eager for their chance to support him silently, this is what Susan says, silently during the proceedings and stridently on the pavement outside. Have you paid any attention to the string of fascist pricks who have been going to this? I mean, it's unbelievable. And then after they come out for a break, because they can't stand it, they can't sit there all day, when they come out to breathe some unpolluted oxygen that hasn't been messed with Trump's farts, when they step outside, they are saying exactly the same thing that the Orange Bastard has been warned not to say himself. Everybody who sucks around Trump should be put under the same gag order as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, Mike Johnson. He couldn't resist the summons that came from his Lord and Master, Donald Jesus Christ Trump. So Mike Johnson showed up yesterday, along with this gang of MAGA assholes, this mishmash of senators and House members and state officials and Trump staffers. Ooh, we're all here, Daddy, to support you because you're the man. What Mike Johnson displayed fully was an utter contempt by the Speaker of the House, second in line for the presidency. The Speaker of the House shows up, opens his goddamn mouth, and rips the American judicial system, rips the system of law and order that Republicans always belched and farted and wheezed that had to be applied to, people of color. But there he stood, Mike Johnson, aligning himself with this fascist son of a bitch sitting in the defendant's chair inside the courthouse. Oh, my God. Along with Mike Johnson, this crazy bastard, J.D. Vance, who somehow got to be senator from Ohio, hillbilly elegy my ass. I mean, he writes a book. Trump talks about what a great guy he is. after, of course, J.D. Vance joined this huge clutch of people who have said that Trump is a worthless bastard, had no business being election freaks. And now he's a great Trump supporter. So Vance showed up. Matter of fact, on Monday, he showed up and appeared at Trump's side. Rick Scott, Mr. Death. Have you ever taken a close look at Rick Scott? I know. I'm not supposed to make ad hominem attacks. But if you ever look at Rick Scott, if that guy would put on, the usual shroud and hooded thing, the black thing that you see on the depictions of Mr. Death, Rick Scott would be an absolute duplication of every nightmare anybody's ever had about Mr. Death. What a bizarre-looking fucker. I mean, I'm sorry. He just is. Oh, yeah, Rick Scott, that cadaverous-looking, oh, my God, he scares the hell out of me. And then the criminal, the real son of a bitch, Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, who has been reelected, even though he was indicted on all kinds of goddamn felony charges that never were resolved years ago. But Ken Paxton, he's the Texas Attorney General. And he's a good buddy of the sitting governor, so he doesn't give a shit. He just gives the middle finger to law and order, as all of these Christian fascists there. Back to J.D. Vance, he's the guy who once called Trump cultural heroin. But Trump, I've been told that Trump loves people who criticize him, say shit about him. They come around like, boss, I'm sorry, boss, I just had to say it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Now, of course, J.D. Vance apologized for saying that and other things about Trump a couple of years ago. And then Vance put up a thread on X defending Trump against accusations that he'd been snoozing in court. I mean, we all seen it. We've seen him sit there with his head going down. The fucker can't, given his diet, with his spikes of blood sugar, and then it plummets, and he sits there and snoozes and farts and snoozes. Well, J.D. Vance defended against the accusations that Trump. And then, this was very telling. This is what he said. Quote, I'm 39 years old, and I've been here for 26 minutes, and I'm about to fall. Now, yesterday, Tuesday, the parade of jackasses continued. North Dakota governor, who is a representative from Florida, another Christian fascist. And then, of course, the high point of the parade of jackasses thinks that he is a serious vice president contender when he sits around and gets high on Indian incense or whatever the hell he gets high on, because he has as much feels like he loves people who play to his vanity. He don't give a shit. He doesn't like smart people, scientific people, people read or something. Just last week, at a time, up on the little stage he had in front, were there. I wonder how many of those people who are drinking his booze and eating his food, I wonder how many of them think, Jesus fucking Christ, who is this guy? But they support him because he will give them, these capitalist swine, exactly what they want. But he gets up on stage and calls these wannabes up after him. And I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it seems like something out of some hideous nightmare. But it just continues. How much longer, dear God? Now, over the years, it's been reported that the Orange Bastard views his legal problems as a public relations problem, not a legal problem, even though that's what everybody else in America would have to deal with if we got caught in the same kind of bullshit that he gets caught in. Of course, we wouldn't try this stuff, but he sees it as a public relations problem. So that's why he's really, really upset. by this perception that he had that he's being abandoned. Where are my peeps? I'm sitting here in this courtroom, suffocating in my own farts. And where are my peeps? Where Eric's here, but I don't even like Eric. But where are my peeps? So as Susan Del Percio put it in her piece for MSNBC, he sent out the bat signal. And here they come. Ta-da, ta-da. Trump showed up without any family members for 2 weeks, if you remember. I mean, who the fuck's going to be there? I mean, they know who this old bastard is. Can you imagine Melania? I try to imagine what her mental condition is like. The whole world knows that her husband, when she was home with a brand new baby, was porking a adult film star, among others. The whole world knows it. And it's just like, oh, my God, Melania. I almost feel sorry for her. Not quite, but I almost do. She chose where she's at. And as the Eagle said, every form of refuge has its price, right? So apparently Melania is willing to pay the price. So the fact that no family members showed up, that was made obvious by various branches of the media, especially by MSNBC. What a group MSNBC has put together. Yesterday, just for shits and giggles, I switched over to Fox to see what they were talking about. In the first place, the group of experts that they had collected, 2 or 3 people sitting on set with the blonde idiot who's on at night. I mean, they look like they had just come from posing for their latest wanted poster. I mean, what a collection of freaks. None of them of the stature or the education or the experience or the knowledge as the experts that you find primarily on MSNBC, and CNN has some too. But MSNBC, I think, really takes the trophy for having the most erudite, intelligent, understandable people show up to explain what's going on, to comment on what's going on. But over at the Fox sewer, I swear to God, it looks like people who just were pulled out of a closet someplace. Get on the set, say something. So Trump's senior campaign staffers knew that it was time for some of these hapless bastards to show up for the public relations aspect of it. And according to MSNBC recently, senior Trump campaign advisor, this crazy fool Susie Wiles, she made an appearance, as did the former and now current campaign advisor, Jason Miller, not to be confused with the Nazi Jew, Stephen Miller. And then my favorite, the Russian Jew, Boris Epstein. Wow. This guy looks like something out of I don't know, out of a spy movie made in the 1950s. What a freakish looking person old Boris is. And Boris is a Trump legal strategist, of course, who found time to attend despite having been recently indicted in Arizona. Boris Epstein. He even spells it the Russian way. What's he trying to do? Hide the fact that he's a Jew? Why? What's the matter, Boris? I mean, come on. Have a dinner of borscht and go answer all the summonses that you are being issued from the state of Arizona. But he's, so many of these people are indicted and charged with crimes, just like their Lord and Master. And what is Boris charged with, among other things, quote, conspiracy, fraud, forgery. Yeah, that's related to these alleged attempts by the defendants out there to change the 2020 election results in Arizona. But there he is. There's old Boris. God damn these people. And then, guess who showed up? Wait for it. Tommy Tuberville, the senator, and I put the word senator in quotes, from Alabama. He made his pilgrimage to the Manhattan courthouse and then tried to argue that Trump was, quote, going through mental anguish in the courtroom was very depressing, he'll, end quote. And then, Tommy Tuberville went on to claim that he was there mostly as a friend. I'm there as a friend. He made some comments on Newsmax that seemed even more ridiculous. But, if you want to know what they are, maybe you can go to Newsmax, or maybe I'll find it here and share it with you in a moment. But anyway, Tuberville went on to claim that not only was he there as a friend, but they're just not treating him right. That's what. He won the election, Oh, Jesus. Now, some of the people who make this parade of miscreants who show up to honor this criminal son of a bitch feel like they owe Trump, like Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the U.S. House. And that's because when, Johnson's job was on the line, because the Q bitch from here in Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm going to get him removed. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. And Trump more or less came to Johnson's rescue. So, maybe that's why Mike Johnson showed up. Although I don't think that's the main reason. I think Mike Johnson showed up because he's out of his fucking mind and just a typical sycophant where it concerns his Lord and Savior, Donald Trump. And then there are those who knew it never hurts to play to Trump's ego, like the criminal Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, who never misses an opportunity to get on his knees in front of Trump and reach up for either his belt buckle or his ring. I'm not sure which. Anyway, as Susan puts it, at the end of the day, everyone knows that Trump is transparent and transactional. So, whether you want a job, have a job, or need a job, you better be there when Trump calls. But whatever you do, don't fall asleep in court, right? What? I mean, seriously, how do we take this shit seriously, except for the fact that democracy is hanging by a very thin, spiderwebby thread right now? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. The Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.